Here, and stage is yours. Go for it.
Thank you very much. I guess I'll give people 15 seconds to come in and enjoy the slide. Okay, last person, and then we just close the door. We just close the door and we don't let anyone in. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, welcome. I hope you are enjoying ETH Prague. It's a huge honor to be able to speak here. It's also very terrifying to speak basically right after Vitalik and Gavin talking over there. And I'm like, well, what am I going to say now? But anyway, what I want to tell you is that you have nothing to hide. You have to worry about your privacy and everything is okay and everyone loves you, your government loves you, and again, you have nothing to hide, which, well, it's not true. There's always something to hide, and I'll talk about that. So, this is my talk. My name is Václav Pavlín. If you want to find me somewhere online, it's usually as V. Pavlin. So you can try that. So I will talk about why and how we are all hiding something and why that's okay. And then also I want to talk about a project I'm working on very briefly and how that helps on the infrastructure level of Web3 and generally decentralized projects. Since we are in Czech Republic, I will start with a tweet of our Ministry of Interior. This is from last year. And Vít Rakušan tweeted that a phone with encrypted communication app does not make you a mafioso. Your connections and actions make you a mafioso. And then in this video, he explains how it's okay to have applications for encrypted communication in your phone. And the reason this post exists is because some of his friends got convicted by taking bribes or something, and they were communicating over some encrypted communication application. And then he had to explain why it's okay for politicians to not leak their information and their privacy. So he is right. It's okay to communicate using encryption or using encrypted communication. It was also interesting to read the comments below the post. So the first one says, normal and decent person does not need encryption because they have nothing to hide, obviously. And he should stop playing this game of like telling everyone that it's normal. A decent person does not have any need to encrypt anything. Obviously, your intentions are not clear. And then the last one is, once again, why the hell do you need an application for encrypted communication? Because if you use encrypted communication, police cannot investigate you. Is that because that's why you need that? You don't trust the police? So the main message is that we all have something to hide, and that's okay. And we hide stuff from our loved ones. For example, when I forgot that my wife has a birthday, I was trying to hide that very well. We hide stuff from our enemies, and I don't mean like immortal enemies who are trying to kill you, because from them you will definitely try to hide. But I mean enemies as in competitors in the space you're working in, for example, right? You don't want to tell all your secrets to your competitors before you are ready to reveal them. And some people have to hide from their governments, and we are seeing that with various whistleblowers or people running away from war and things like that, right? So we all have something to hide, and it's perfectly fine. And then also, privacy, where privacy is normal. I hate when people say that privacy is not a crime, because that's very defensive in my brain. Privacy is a very normal thing. So if you feel like you need privacy, it's very normal. But there is they, whoever that is, there's different they, but they are trying to prevent the privacy that you have in the cyberspace, online, on the internet. So this is one of the examples. The European Union child sexual abuse regulation. The goal of this is to protect children. Good cause, love it, makes perfect sense. But how they are trying to do it is they are trying to make your end-to-end encrypted communication spyable. So basically, be able to read whatever you send to anyone on any messaging platform or any form of communication that you use. Now, this is not great because if you are a law-obeying citizen, you don't really want anyone to spy on your communication. And if you are not, if you are actually someone doing bad stuff, you will probably figure out a way how to get around these official applications that will implement this feature of being able to break the encryption. Now, the second thing where this is problematic is that everybody who is an expert in the space says this won't work. This won't work from the perspective of technology because we don't have a way how to open end-to-end encrypted communication as long as it's actually end-to-end encrypted. So you would have to not encrypt the communication, basically. And then also that it's dangerous for children because if they cannot freely express themselves, they will not be able to develop properly. And the only place where they can now freely express themselves is online, right? EU, even though this is like being pushed back, the EU was still pushing this law up until earlier this year. They basically said, okay, we're going to stop because it's probably not going to work. This article from last year is interesting and explains how this is tied back to some security corporations in US and how they were basically potentially bribing or trying to convince EU to actually push this so that they can sell EU all the technology they needed. In other words, this sounds to me as if they were saying privacy is dangerous and we have to do something about the privacy. Actually, today I saw a tweet. I'm just going to pull out my phone, sorry about that. From one of the EU commissioner people, I think, and it says, beware, the chat control proposal, that's a part of the regulation, which has been stalling, could be adopted by EU governments after all. France is considering to give up the resistance. The compromise is either you agree to have your chat scanned or you can no longer share or receive pictures, videos, and links. So it's an interesting development of like, although people are saying this is nonsense, they're still trying to find a way how to spy on ordinary people. Now, this is a tweet, part of the tweet from Rose from Lunar Mining on X from DarkFi, saying encryption is a mathematical expression of a second law of thermodynamics. It is the irreversible arrow of time made concrete. I have no clue what that means, but I think it's beautiful. I think it means that if you encrypt something, math and physics make sure that nobody can actually read the content, right? So that's what the EU and other governments, UK government and US government are fighting against. They're fighting against math and thermodynamics. Well, okay, good luck, guys. I tweeted that laws cannot break math. Similar context. Now, what is the risk of us not having privacy? Like, why is it a big deal? So I mentioned the psychologist saying that the kids cannot evolve properly and like flourish in an environment where they cannot express themselves freely. So that's one thing, and it's directly connected to the first line. Lack of privacy leads to self-censorship. So why this is bad? I came to a conclusion, and it's just my personal opinion, that self-censorship is kind of the worst kind of censorship. It might be the reason for that thought might be that I've never been, at least to my knowledge, actually censored by someone else, so I can't compare. But I feel like if someone censors you, you can at least fight against it, and you can find different ways how to express yourself. But if you self-censor, so you decide in your head that you will not do something or not say something just because you are worried about someone maybe looking down on you or finding it bad if a government changes and suddenly something you did is criminal, even though it wasn't before. You may self-censor and not do stuff, and that hinders innovation. We are here at ETH Prague for innovation, for ideation, to find new solutions to existing problems or find problems that nobody thought about. So self-censorship is bad for this environment. And then second thing is more of a warning to you. If you're building something, if you are doing something and you consider that privacy is part of that, which you should always consider that, but if you consider that privacy is part of what you are doing and your users might need privacy, you need to realize that privacy cannot be added retrospectively, right? So if you build a system, Ethereum, where everything is public, which it is, you can't say, and now it's private. And now nobody can see the transactions. And now nobody can know whether you interacted with some wallet that is now OFAC sanctioned, right? So if you're building something, you have to think about privacy from the get-go, because you can never go back and add privacy retrospectively. Okay, let's expand. I hope it makes sense so far. So who does not agree that privacy is important? Who does think that we should not have privacy? Okay, good. You're in agreement. Now, from the perspective of privacy, we talked about encryption so far. Who thinks, I mean, I just say it here, but before you saw the slide, who thought that if you have encrypted stuff online, it's enough for your privacy? Or who still thinks that? If I encrypt my communication and I send you an encrypted file, it's enough for our communication to be private? Nobody. Okay, you saw the answer, so yeah, my bad. But you are right. Encryption is not enough for privacy, because encryption just prevents others to access the content, to see the content of the messages. But that's just one part of what makes the communication potentially dangerous for them, whoever that is, because we have some other properties for privacy-preserving technology or originally approaches to things. So linkability, as long as I can link sender and recipient of some message or of some content, I can potentially retrospectively see that if one of them leaks some information that leads to some potential, I don't know, illegal stuff, I can link it back to someone else and say, okay, maybe you are involved as well. And we see that very clearly, again, in Ethereum. We are in an Ethereum event. Because if I wanted to get you into trouble with your wallets, I can just push some money through Tornado Cash, and then those tainted coins, I just drop some dust in your wallet, and suddenly your wallet is connected to an OFAC sanctioned wallet. Hence, you are also OFAC sanctioned. Right? If it's not true, I think this is how it happened to some people. If it's not true, please correct me. I'm happy to be corrected, but this is how I understood it when these things happened. So we need unlinkability between sender and recipient. So if we want to have a private communication or private transaction systems, we need to make sure that we can prove that something happened if someone has a legitimate claim on knowing that. But then also it's not completely obvious and public and non-private that you communicated with someone else. And then we need anonymity. So we need to make sure that my communication, my personal stuff that is going through the wires is indistinguishable from other users or other entities communicating on the same network. So you can think about it like if I go to Prague with pink Lamborghini, you'll probably be able to spot me very easily. If I go to Prague with red Škoda, it's going to be way harder, right? So you need some good anonymity set to be able to not see immediately that someone is doing something, regardless of what they are doing. And then ownership, we give up ownership of our data very easily whenever we use things like Instagram, Facebook, even GitHub basically says that whatever you upload to GitHub is now, the data is owned by GitHub, I think. So ownership of data helps us to keep control of the private data. So now we're getting to the project that I wanted to show these properties of privacy, how we implement them in Waku, which is an infrastructure project for communication. So I need to tell you what Waku is to be able to show you on practical examples where these properties are actually used and how they are implemented. So Waku is a set of communication privacy-preserving, decentralized, modular protocols for generalized messaging. What does it mean? Originally, in Ethereum white paper, there were 3 pillars: storage, consensus, and communication. We have consensus that is very well known, Ethereum. We have storage from that still, it's called Swarm. It's not that much known. And then the last one pillar was communication, it was Whisper. And that's completely unknown because it doesn't really exist anymore. Waku came out of Whisper and is kind of a follow-up, a re-implementation of some of the concepts and specs of Whisper. And so what does it mean to be privacy preserving? We talked about all these properties and we are trying to follow them or implement them. So I will talk more about that. Decentralized, there is a network of nodes right now, something like 450 nodes that are running the Waku client, and they are broadcasting messages around the world. It's modular, so it's good for running somewhere in the data center on a high bandwidth, high compute powered machine. But then also it runs in browser and it can run on your phone, so you can use it anywhere. And it's for generalized messaging, so the standard quote is, it's not just chat for us. So although we talked about communication and chat applications up until now, this is not a chat application. This is a general messaging. So if you can think of message buses, message queues like Kafka, SQS, or just general pub/sub pattern when you are implementing something, that's basically what Waku is and what Waku uses. Now we have some interesting and some of them well-known projects using Waku. So Status, that's actually where Waku originally came from. Is a chat application, if I simplify it very much. So they are using Waku and they are chat application, privacy preserving, decentralized. Railgun, you may have heard people like Vitalik talking about a railgun and privacy pools. So Railgun is implementing privacy pools on various blockchains and allow you to privately operate with your funds on Ethereum and I think Polygon and a bunch of other. And they use Waku under the hood as an infrastructure to exchange messages between relayers and wallets. XMTP, you may have heard last year, they integrated into Coinbase Wallet. They use Waku under the hood. The graph is, they have a component called GraphCast, which is helping indexers to communicate and exchange information about indexing the subgraphs. So they use Waku for that as well. The new additions recently were Portrait, which is an interesting project allows you to create a single page profile that is then stored in a decentralized network and queried from there when you want to see it or load it. I'm not sure if they are fully live. I think they have some kind of beta version out. And Dria is, we need to mention AI. Everyone talks about AI. So Dria is an AI project where they are trying to basically come up with a decentralized network to generate synthetic data for training LLMs. Very interesting white paper if you are into AI and synthetic data generation, cool stuff. Definitely go search them. And they use Waku for that decentralized network. So, Waku and privacy, and I have this disclaimer here. So, we're talking about the base layer. So, Waku is the base layer for your applications that need to communicate between some entities. And that can be human to human, or it can be machine to machine, or machine to human. But if you are using any application that claims privacy, and maybe they mentioned like, oh, we use Waku, even though you use something like Waku or Waku specifically, it does not mean that you are private with that application, because the application can still leak metadata, can still leak information about yourself. So you still need to be vigilant, and this is very hard. Privacy is hard. Being a user of private tools is hard, and then also you never know whether the privacy is actually there. So we talked about encryption. Preventing people from seeing the content of your applications. Waku does not encrypt anything by default, but we help people. So for example, we define this RFC with the noise protocol, which allows you to exchange some key material so that you can establish a secure channel between two participants, basically. Linkability. So we don't want to link sender and recipients. Waku is a broadcasting network, as was 5 minutes, yeah, I know. I see the time here. It's a broadcasting network. So you publish a message and all the nodes relay the message to all the other nodes, basically. Well, not all of them, but some of them. But basically the idea is that the message will travel through the network, and by that it will reach its destination without actually specifying the destination. There are some fields like content topic that help you to filter the messages that you care about or don't care about. Anonymity, again, the messages are basically very similar. And for that, if you publish a message on a particular topic, all those messages will look similar. Hence, you get anonymity. And we don't have any identity tied back to whoever is publishing the message, so that helps as well. I promised in my abstract to talk about ZK a bit, so in my last 3 minutes of a presentation, I will talk about ZK magic. So rate limiting nullifiers is something we use for rate limiting in the network. Problem of peer-to-peer networks is often that they can be easily spammed and then taken down by that spam. In collaboration with Privacy and Scaling Exploration Group, funded by EF, we have came up with this rate limiting nullifier technology. And this is basically specs, circuits, smart contracts, and client libraries that allow you to rate limit a decentralized network. And how it works is that the user obtains a membership in a contract. How they obtain it is up to whoever controls that contract. I can pay for your membership, or you can pay for your membership, doesn't really matter. It's just about obtaining some, being part of the memberships. Your hash of some secret that you know has to be part of the membership group. Then user generates a proof, so it uses zero-knowledge proofs. You generate a proof that you are part of the member without revealing which member you are, and you attach it to the message. And then all the nodes validate the proofs. They check that the message and the proof is valid and that they can relay it. And if not, then they drop it, so you cannot spam the whole network. You may spam one node, but then that node will eventually disconnect from you. And that's how we protect the network with ZK Magic. Okay, this is my last slide, summary. So privacy is normal. Whoever I hear to say privacy is not a crime, I'm gonna not do anything, but I'll be angry at you. Encryption is not enough. When you are building a privacy solution, encryption is not enough. And even if you're not building a specifically privacy solution, encryption is not enough. You are still leaking a lot of metadata. Web3 is not just a blockchain. I just talked about a Web3 project called Vaku. It's not a blockchain. We use blockchain, but we are not a blockchain, and we are not strictly dependent on blockchain. So Web3 is not just blockchain. We have storage, we have communication, we have other things. ZK is magic. It's also math. But I think at this level of math, it's magic for me. And well, cypherpunk is not dead. We are all cypherpunks at Logos and Vaku and Institute of Free Technology. These are the QR codes related to Vaku. If you website, Twitter, Discord, if you want to join us, help, or just use, or just hang out, whatever. I don't think you can see my name there, but again, V. Pavlín on Twitter or wherever. If you want to find me or connect with me. And that's it. I have 1 minute for questions.
Round of applause, thank you. You have more minutes, at least 5 minutes or more. I think the next speaker is still missing in action, so we might extend it. Any questions? Any questions?
It was either too good or too bad. Thank you very much again.
Thank you.